Hi everyone, it's me again, back here yet again, in the coffee shop series. This time, we will focus on the theme called the Accidental Mapmaker. But before we get right and let us set the stage, yes, the impatience test. If the coffee shop is a sanctuary, then waiting is the ultimate test of patience. I've been sitting here for 17 minutes, waiting for a friend who is officially running late. And I can feel it, that anxious, frantic energy that makes the minutes crawl and makes my mind race. When your life is put on hold by someone else's delay, where does your focus go? Mine usually goes straight to irritation. It's like my compass suddenly loses the destination and starts demanding a new one. But today I decided to stop fighting the stillness and found that the best map to a calm destination isn't printed, it's created. By the way, the friend's name is Elara. She is really a cousin, 3 years older, 3 times removed. We actually grew up together. Okay, let us delve right in. Scene 1. The frustration of the delay. Yup. I had a mental itinerary for today, and the 15 minutes I was supposed to be spending on my task are now being spent on nothing. The world outside the window is moving, people rushing, cars honking, and I'm frozen here. This is where the compass spins hardest, right? When you feel like you have no control over your time or your journey. My internal voice is just shouting, get up, do something. Go somewhere. But where do you go when all you have is a cold glass and a condensation ring on the table? To manage the agitation, I started tracing the water trails on the side of the glass. Just a mindless, repetitive action. Back and forth, up and down. A quick, temporary distraction. Scene 2, the cartographer's hand. But then, the mindless act became intentional. I started noticing the shapes. The streaks weren't random watermarks. They were starting to look like river systems, like fjords, like coastlines. By the way, you know that they say Norway have some of the longest, narrowest, and most beautiful fjords in the world. I took a napkin, a clean one, and transferred the shape of the condensation ring to the paper. The perfect circle became the rough boundary of a new continent. I named it the Isle of Intent. Its largest feature was a sprawling, winding river I called the Current of Patience. I drew a small central mountain range labeled the Peaks of Perspective. This wasn't a place on Earth. This was a map of internal calm, constructed entirely out of boredom and condensation. Scene 3. The cartographer's conflict. I had the peaceful mountains and the patient river. But a map is useless if it doesn't account for the threats. I started to see the little specks of dried coffee and crumbs on the napkin as potential hazards. Here, a small pool of worry. There, the dense fog of procrastination I've been trying to ignore all week. I realized I couldn't just draw a perfect paradise. I had to map my current confusion. I started tracing the crumbs and stains into a region I labeled the unfinished coast, a rough, choppy area representing all the projects I was avoiding. I even drew a large X right in the center of the continent, where the peak of perspective should have been. I called it the doubt crater, but as I drew the crater, something shifted. By giving my doubt a defined shape and a clear location on the map, it lost its power. It was no longer a pervasive, abstract feeling. It was a spot on the paper. And you know what you do with a spot on a map? You draw a path around it. I spent the next few minutes drawing a deliberate, winding footpath, a little dotted line that started at my current frustration point and led directly around the doubt crater, heading straight for the current of patience. It wasn't about erasing the problem. It was about navigating it. The map wasn't just a place of peace, it was a strategy. I had used my restless energy to plan a route out of my own head. Scene 4. Finding sanctuary on the napkin. Who can relate? The amazing thing wasn't the map itself, but the act of making it. Every line I drew was a choice. I was deliberately creating a place where I wanted to be, a place free of deadlines and frustrations. I was the cartographer, and I dictated the geography of peace. When I felt anxiety bubble up, I would draw a dense forest around it, blocking its path. When I felt clarity, I would draw a wide, clear lake. I realized that this imaginary place was where my real compass was pointing. It wasn't pointing me to my waiting friend, or to my forgotten tasks, or to London. It was pointing me to stillness. I had used the energy of my own impatience to construct a perfect personal sanctuary. I didn't need to physically travel to find direction. I just needed to invest my attention in creating it. My friend arrived. Elara has a distinctive, bright laugh, and her arrival is announced by the soft jingle of her keys. I looked up genuinely surprised, having lost track of time. Elara apologized profusely, and the real world rushed back in. But I was no longer agitated. I was anchored. I had spent that 17-minute delay in my own peaceful world. Scene 5. The legacy of the line, Elara, with her cheerful, slightly older energy and the faint scent of cinnamon, launched immediately into her apology and the story of the delay. The noise of her arrival, the jingle of her keys, and her bright laugh was a sharp contrast to the quiet focus of my last few minutes. I nodded, responding to her story, but my focus was no longer frantic. It was deep. I looked down at the map, my continent of the Isle of Intent. It was stained with coffee rings and smudged with pen ink, yet it felt more real than the coffee shop around me. I saw the doubt crater and the tiny, deliberate path I had charted around it. The map was already outdated, the moment of agitation gone, but the strategy was permanent. I realized that every line I drew wasn't just geographical. It was an act of self-trust. I didn't need Elara or my original schedule to solve the problem of waiting. I had used the materials at hand, condensation, a napkin, and pure restlessness, to prove that I possessed the inner tools to navigate my own emotional terrain. The true destination wasn't about meeting Elara on time. It was about meeting myself with peace. The delay hadn't stolen my time. It had given me the canvas to draw my own true north. Now, the real trick was to carry that calm out the door. Let me close on the topic. Carry your own map. Before getting up, I took this map, this fragile, coffee-stained piece of paper, and folded it into my pocket. It serves as my quiet, personal reminder. The lesson from the Accidental Mapmaker is simple. True north is not a fixed point you have to search for. It's a space you have the power to create wherever you are. The next time your plans are derailed, the next time your compass starts spinning because you feel stuck or out of control, stop rushing. Find a simple medium, a piece of paper, a napkin, a steam-covered window, and use that frantic energy to deliberately draw the landscape of your own peace. You don't need to go anywhere to find your sanctuary. You just need to realize that you carry your map with you. If you enjoy what you heard, like, share, and subscribe. Let's meet up again next time for more on Calming My Compass. See you soon.